Alrighty, so the matinee games is now in the books. In fact, it literally just finished a couple of seconds ago after the final whistle was blown. This one I already had everything set up and ready to go as the final whistle between Columbus and Miami is finished. But just like last week, goals have definitely been seemed hard to find in terms of these matinee game, and you just hope maybe that will change as we get into the busy Saturday night action. Though I will say that at least in these last football match week, I have noticed goals have definitely been down in the league. Yes, we have had a couple of games where there are a lot of goals, or in a couple games cases we have seen just some crazy blowout that happened with one team scoring all the goals and the other team uh, doesn't. But for the most part, in most of these games, it's been relatively competitive and it's been relatively low scoring, which just kind of tells you that yeah, defense seems like they're starting to pick things up. Or it could also be the fact that the attack for some of these teams are just not as sharp as we've seen in previous year. With that being said, moving on to the first game that we're going to talk about, which is Austin versus the Galaxy. And I said before that, I had a feeling there wasn't going to be a lot of goals that we're going to score in this game between two teams that have kind of struggled to find the ball in the back of net. And that's exactly what happened. Though Austin wouldn't care because this feels like a very Austin victory for them this season. They have had a lot of 1-0 victory this one, and they got another one in this one against the Galaxy. Now, the first shot of the game did see Uzuni puts it high on the volley. Austin was definitely on the front foot with the possession. McCarthy then denied Pereira from long range before Stuver would deny Peck after a lightning counterattack. And then Peck hits one right to Stuver in the 18th minute. The Galaxy definitely woke up. It was a bit of a slow start for them coming out of the gate, and there's not a big surprise considering this was a very early start, especially for West Coast team. Like you're basically playing before 11 a.m. in this one, so I'm not surprised the fact that the Galaxy were off to a bit of a slow start in this one. No, McCarthy did deny Uzuni on the curler. Both of these teams were starting to get some good chances, but the question is who can get the opener? Well, Peck tried to do so, but he was denied by the post here. Yeah, it's just not happening for Gabriel Peck this season. He has only have one goal so far this season that came against Vancouver back in match week number 2, and you just kind of had a sense that he's just pretty much been snake bit this season and just have not looked like the same player that he was last season. Although big part of that is because he is definitely missing a couple of the killer keys in this team. And I would say that even with Joseph Painto back into the team, you thought that maybe things were gonna improve, but Painto himself also has not really looked like his old self, and this kind of just makes you wonder. Yeah, Ricky Pooch, his influence to this team is even bigger than what we thought it would be in the first place. But there was a shout for a penalty for Austin not given after that. Zuni did try to chip the goalkeeper after McCarthy just gave it right to him, but that one was actually blocked off the line. This is the problem for the Galaxy this season. Goalkeeping has been a huge issue this season, and McCarthy has had his fair share of goalkeeping gaff and almost had another one in this one. Vasquez would then hits it right in or hits it high in the front post. The shots were 7-5 for Austin up to this point, and then Vasquez would miss wide from close in the 45th minute. We do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. But the fact that both of these teams definitely had some good moment to get the first goal of the game. Though in the second half, not much really happened early in this one, as neither of these teams were looking very sharp coming out of the break in the final third. Vasquez would find the side netting in the near post before Uzuni puts it wide from close in the 62nd minute. Austin, once again, we're starting to get some chances, but again, the clinical finishing was definitely lacking up to this point. But they had a chance to finally get that first goal in the 65th minute as a penalty was given to Los Verdes after Nelson brought down Bakari in the box. So here comes Brandon Vasquez, who again he's another player that has been bit snake bitten this season. Have only scored one goal so far this season. That was against San Diego FC, and yeah, he got denied by McCarthy from the spot, and it was not a great penalty too. It looked like a penalty from a guy that clearly just have no confidence whatsoever. And then Vasquez would puts it wide from the header in the 68th minute. And again, that just kind of sums up Austin and Vasquez tenure with his new club. Just it just doesn't seem like it's falling for him. The goals have just not been there, and have clearly not play up to the $10 million price tag that he is tend to do. And normally I would say that for a new players coming into a new team, maybe things would eventually arrive. And maybe that could be the case with Vasquez playing a different system compared to him with Cincinnati, but he's not unfamiliar with MLS. He's a guy that has been proven to be an MLS goal scorer, and it's just kind of unfortunate the fact that he's definitely hit his dry spell at least early in the season. But in the 69th minute, Royce would puts it wide from long range before Vasquez would hits the side of the post. Swittalk would then heads it right to McCarthy in the 73rd minute. The shots were 14-9 for Austin up to this point, but again, nope, they haven't put one past McCarthy net. Painso then missed wide as the flag went up in the 78th minute. And in the 81st minute, Austin finally broke through. And you know how I said Brandon Vasquez has been struggling in front of goal? He finally got one here, and you can clearly see the relief in his face. Like you can see what it really means to him because of the struggle that he's been going through, and he finally got the goal here to give Austin a 1-0 lead. And let's see whether or not if that will give him some confidence. I mean, as the old saying goes, go uh for forwards or striker, if you can score goals, they can be contagious, and if you can just get one pass, then things would definitely open up. Let's see if that is the case for Vasquez for the rest of the season. Fodry then looked to get another, but he missed wide before Peck would put it wide from close range because Gabriel Peck is still state bitten this season. Yamane then puts it over from close range. The Galaxy was definitely pressing late to try to get the equalizer, and then we had a second yellow card. This was a very weird situation where hindsight, of course, got a second yellow card. The commentator throughout this one, they didn't even mention the fact that they got a second yellow until like a couple of seconds after that happened. And I also didn't really quite see the second yellow being handed out as well. So I don't know what happened in that one is kind of the worst reason why hindsight gets a second yellow. Originally, I think he got a yellow card for the tackle, so maybe he kind of talked himself into a second yellow. But either way, that was just kind of a weird situation. We'll see whether or not if in the middle of the week MLS might rescind this one. I'm assuming Austin is probably gonna try to appeal for this. But the good news for Austin, despite they were down to 10 men and the Galaxy pushing late to try to get the equalizer, they hold on to a 1-0 victory in this one. Shots in this one, 16 shots for the 14 that the Galaxy had, 5 shots on goal for the 4 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots off target for the 6 that Austin had. Both team had, or actually 3 shots I was blocking for the 5 that the Galaxy had, and possession wise, pretty even. 51% possession compared to the 49% possession the Galaxy has in this game. And overall, it was a relatively even game. I think this game probably could have gone either way. I would say Austin probably had the better chances, and I think they deserve to get the win in this one. But for the Galaxy, winless run continues. It's now 9 games to start the season without a win. That's the longest winless run that they've ever had to start the season in their franchise history. And again, there's just something off when it comes to this attack, and especially I feel like they're kind of suffering the same problem that Sporting KC had a couple of years ago when they started the season 10 games without a win, where they were missing a lot of their attacking pieces, and even when those attacking pieces are back. They just still cannot find a goal because, again, when you haven't scored a lot of goals this season, it's not going to magically come back once the healthy player comes back into the team, unless if those players that the star player that had come back from injury can contribute, then yeah, maybe that of course is the case. And unfortunately, that just have not been the case for this Galaxy team. Even with some of their star player back, they're not really contributing, and they're just still stuck in this vicious cycle of this winless run, and a vicious cycle in terms of a MLS Cup hangover. I mean, this is probably the hardest MLS Cup hangover I've seen a team hit in recent memories. Now, moving on into the next game. So this is a game that I'm pretty sure everybody was looking forward to. It. Two teams that is unbeaten coming into this game, and after this game, we saw one team that had their unbeaten run comes to an end, and one team stands at the top of the mountain when it comes to be the last team that has the unbeaten run, and that team is Inter Miami. Though I gotta say, for Columbus, I mean they should have won this game or at least got a point out of this game, and this is another prime example of how many times I've said when you play against Inter Miami, you have to put away your chances because if you don't put away your chances, even when Miami is not at their best, and I still don't think Miami is looking like they're at their best, especially on the attacking. I still think that there's maybe a little bit concern coming out of this game of how lackluster they still look at times in terms of the attack, but it doesn't really matter because they have been a very clinical team, and it feels like whatever kind of voodoo magic that they have in hand. They're basically forcing teams to just keep missing chances after chances, and that was kind of the case in this game for Columbus. That I mean, I do not know how they didn't get a goal in this game with the chances that they created. Now in the first half, so the pitch side definitely looked small, and again, it's not a big surprise because this is playing at the Cleveland Browns stadium in Cleveland, and whenever you play in an NFL stadium, the pitch size is going to be relatively small. But really, not much happened early in this one. And I also would like to say that, even though this game was taking place at the Brown Stadium, the camera angle was actually pretty good. So that was kind of one of the thing I was a little bit concerned when it comes to playing in a not non soccer specific stadium, especially a stadium that I have never seen an MLS game being play. How the camera angle is going to be good. It was actually pretty good throughout this game, and also the pitch side was absolutely beautiful. Definitely props to those grounds crew in Cleveland and those that is at the Brown Stadium really put in a perfect kind of pitch to play this massive game that we have against these two unbeaten side. Really early on, not much really happened, and that's kind of expected because you just kind of had a feeling this feels like a big game kind of game, and in many ways kind of felt like a playoff atmosphere uh, kind of game that is. But the possession was 63 to 37, 18 minutes in favor of the crew, but we have yet to see a shot up to this point. In fact, the first shot of the game came in the 25th minute, and Gasdag was in on goal here, but he mishied as he was trying to chip Gustavi there, and then he absolutely robbed Arfson on a 1v1 opportunity, and that would kind of be the theme for Columbus throughout this entire game, missing some big chances to go up early in this one. But there was no doubt that Columbus got a foothold into this one. They were looking to try to get the opening goal, but instead it's Miami the one that gets the opening goal as Kamaski would score from Wayne Gun and Suarez to make it 1-0 in favor of Miami. Really kind of completely against the run of play because up to that point I thought Columbus was starting to gain some steam and maybe get the opening goal. Messi had a shot that was deflected and wide before Schulte actually came off his lines and didn't get to this one, and he is very lucky the fact that he was not punished because of that. Because anytime when your goalkeeper come off your lines and you don't get to it, you're basically in no man's land. And very fortunate for Schulte, he was not made to be punished because of it. Russell Rowe would then puts it wide on the top of the arc. This was a very frustrating game for Jason Russell Rowe. I didn't think he had a good game whatsoever, and I'm pretty sure Columbus fans can agree with how frustrating he was throughout this game, and especially kind of be a part of some of the missed chances that this team has had. But in the first minute of start time, Messi would cross it just wide from long range, and that did not miss by much as well. But there was no doubt the game has finally started to open up after the first goal was being scored. But we do head to halftime with Miami leading 1-0. In the second half, Rossi would hit it right to Ustari. Again, promising start for Columbus as they were looking to try to get the opener, dictating the possession and the plays. There was a huge shout for a penalty for Columbus not given. Now, obviously, Columbus fan, I know that they will definitely point out this moment as a moment that they kind of got robbed by the referee, and in some way, I do kind of agree because I feel like that probably should have been a penalty in that case. Was that Arson the one that got run over there? If I'm not mistaken there by a Miami defender. But either way, no penalty was given in that play. I also thought Miami was turning the ball over way too much in their own half. Now, part of that is because Columbus was doing very good with the high press up front, but at the same time, it was just way too sloppy for Miami, just turning the ball over and over again. Rossi would then puts it high on a sitter in the 59th minute. These chances are going to come back to haunt Columbus because, again, how many times we said when you're giving the chances, and Miami will give you chances. I've seen this season where Miami is a team that, with the way that, yes, even though they have said that they have boosted the defense, they still are giving up big chances to opposition. And as I said, it feels like there's a voodoo that is going on where even when the opposition are getting these big chances, most of these big chances they just cannot put it away. They also announced that 60,614 was in attendance in this one. There were definitely some notable empty seats in the third deck, but for the most part, pretty good attendance in this game overall. Gastag would then puts it over in the near post in the 74th minute. Miami just seems like they're packing it in because with the way that Mascherano decided to bring in some defensive sub, they were looking to just try to see out a 1-0 win. Now normally that doesn't usually go so well when you're the visiting team, but this is Inter Miami, so you just kind of had a sense that they will find a way to see things out because for whatever reason they have that voodoo magic of causing their opposition missing big chances after big chances, and that kind of continues for the Crew. First, it was Arvston hitting right to Mustari in the 80th minute, and then Jackson just whiffs on the volley. Not the easiest volley to catch, but one that you would assume he probably should have done better. And again, that's just been the story of the day for Columbus. Just cannot capitalize in these golden opportunity. Jackson would then miss wide from long range, and then Gastek would miss wide in the near post. There was no doubt that Daniel Gastek was more active in this one, but again, he was also part of the story of just missing some golden opportunity. And this one in the third minute stoppage time just kind of sums it up as he just missed an absolute sitter from 6 yards out. And despite all the chances that Columbus has had, can't find one in, and they lose this one, their first loss of the season, as Inter Miami not only took over the top of the Eastern Conference, but I believe that they're well, actually they're not at the top of the Supporters Shield standing. I think Vancouver still has that lead, but they're pretty close in terms of that spot right now. The shots in this one, 15 shots for this, just 6 that Miami has had, 2 shots on goal for the 3 that Columbus had, 7 shots off target for the 2 that Miami has, 2 shots that was blocked for the 5 that Columbus had, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that Inter Miami has in this game. And as I said before, this is a classic example of what happened when you don't take away your chances against Miami. Because if you don't take away your chances, doesn't matter how Miami might not be playing at their best, especially on the attacking end, you don't take away your chances, you're going to lose the game every single time. And Columbus become the latest victim of that after this game. But there you have it. That is pretty much it. Looking at both of these matinee games, as always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these two matinee games. We got 13 games that's going to be happening on Saturday night, and I'll be doing the review either later tonight after my grand hop, or maybe tomorrow in terms of part one, and I'll probably do part two on Monday as well if I am not going to be able to do the review of the first part, at least looking at the first 6 games and also the 7:30 games of to start this busy Saturday night action. And by the way, as I mentioned, this is going to be the first week where we're not going to have games on Sunday. I have a feeling there's a reason why we don't have games on Sunday. I forgot this Sunday is Easter, so yeah, I think MLS decided to kind of honor that holiday by just having no games whatsoever on Sunday. So yeah, that's why we have just a lot of games that's going to be happening in this busy Saturday night action. A little throwback in terms of these last couple of seasons in Apple TV, and one that kind of is not going to make a lot of MLS fans or sickos very happy with the way that one of the big criticism in terms of this Apple TV deal is that there's just way too many games that's happening in the Saturday night window. And although this year they definitely have done a much better job this year spraying things out, yeah, this week just kind of reminds you of the rough part of this Apple TV deal of just way too many games happening in the same window. But like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.